Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Andrea, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for Christianity and for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Hello, 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 friends. Welcome to everyone in the Zoom room and to all of you out there watching on YouTube, whether you're watching live or later. Your energy contributes to the wonderful essence of this ministry, and we are happy to have you with us. Our broadcast date today is Sunday, December the 10th. It's the second Sunday of Advent. And so we're kind of starting to get into the Christmas vibe around here. I was looking around for something funny to share, and I found some little stories having to do with Christmas pageants. So let me just read those to you. So these are three short little things about Christmas pageants. The first one says, when my son was 8 years of age, he was in a Christmas pageant at our church. His line started, and the Virgin Mary was with child. And he did his line correctly at every rehearsal. On the night of the presentation, everything was going wonderfully, and the children were relaxed and reciting their lines without flaw. And when it came time for my son to say his line, here's how it came out. And the Viking Mary was with child. So that's the first one, the Viking Mary. Second one, also, these are all about Christmas pageants. While participating in a church Christmas pageant many years past, my daughter had the good fortune to be chosen as a narrator. Each rehearsal went off well, and then on the night of the show, she, in a loud and penetrating voice, announced the gifts of the Magi as gold, Frankenstein, and myrrh. So, and here's the third one. My nephew wanted to be Joseph in the Sunday school pageant. He was cast as the landlord and objected loudly, but to no avail. When the pageant was presented, Mary and Joseph knocked on the door and asked him if he had room for them at the inn. And my nephew smiled and said, "Yeah, sure, lots of room. Come on in." So just a couple of cute stories about Christmas pageants. And part of why I had that on my mind is that the Christmas pageant, there is a Unity Christmas pageant that I wrote some years ago, and for Unity of Fredericksburg's Christmas Eve candle lighting service, which will be at 4 p.m. on Zoom on Christmas Eve. There will be a Christmas pageant, but not a pageant of thousands, just a pageant of me there for you. So, all right, so let's get going here. Today is the second Sunday in Advent. Now, last week we talked about what is Advent, because not everybody grew up going somewhere where they do Advent. So Advent in popular culture is essentially the countdown to Christmas. And of course, we know that in religious circles that it's observed in Christian churches who observe Christmas as a celebration of the birth of Jesus, the Christ. And in Unity, of course, we don't associate the Christ just with Jesus. We associate it with all of us because Jesus taught in Scripture that it wasn't just him, but that we are all expressing the divine energy of the universe at the point of us. So Advent is a season and a process that reminds us, even when we forget, to expand our awareness of that Christ consciousness and rekindle it, revive it, reactivate it. So the theme for the second Sunday of Advent is peace. And my title today, my question for you is, are you building peace? So we're talking about spiritual building blocks for peace. Now, peace is a common theme in Unity, traditionally for years, and still here at Unity of Fredericksburg. Services will close by singing "Let There Be Peace on Earth." So it's something that we claim and work with on a regular basis. But as we all know, finding peace in our outer world is pretty challenging sometimes. And particularly these days, there are conflicts flaring up in the world that have been happening and happening again for centuries. And even in our own culture, our own American culture, just the level of polarization is pretty overwhelming these days. So, as individuals, we can ask ourselves, what can I do? And for many of us, there might be things in the outer world that we want to do, whether we want to speak up and advocate for one way of thinking or another, if we want to donate time or money or resources to particular things. And, we all work with that on an individual level. But our question today is, what is something that we can all do beyond those limits, those physical limits of time and money? What can we do to help build peace? And what we can do is work on building peace in our own consciousness, and then sharing that peaceful energy in our prayers, in our words, in our actions. So then, of course, the question is, okay, all right, good. So how do we do that? How do we build peace in our own consciousness and share that peace of mind? What can we do to create peace? Well, I'd like to suggest that we can begin with our power of understanding. Now, the power of understanding is one of the kind of teaching sets in Unity around, which is called the 12 powers. And this is a set of divine ideas. This is something that was put together by Unity founder Charles Fillmore and the folks that he was working with about 100 years ago. So the 12 powers are a set of divine ideas that we all have and express. And the more we understand how they work, the more we can use them to live happier and more joyful lives. So the one we're talking about today in particular is our power of understanding. So understanding is a word that I think we get what that means in day-to-day speech. On a spiritual level, our power of understanding is our capacity for comprehension. So to gather information from all of the sources that we have, sources out in the world, our brain, our body, the world around it, and to bring it in and knit it together with what we know spiritually so that we can really comprehend things from a spiritual level. And our power of understanding is our capacity for realization. That's kind of those aha moments that, where we kind of build on that comprehension to sort of make connections with things and put the puzzle pieces together of, this connects with that, and that means that, aha. And our power of understanding is our capacity for insight, for applying what we know intellectually, using that spiritual comprehension and seeing into situations the meaning underneath. So let me read you a quote. This is from the book Divine Audacity. There's the cover for you. It's written by Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett. She will be with us here at Unity of Fredericksburg on December 31st as our guest speaker. So this is a wonderful 12 Powers book, Divine Audacity. Here's a section on what she has to say about spiritual understanding. Spiritual understanding is comprehending, internalizing, and then living the truth we know. Understanding dawns over time and through study and reflection, or it can come in a flash. Suddenly, bing, the light shines. The seat of understanding in the physical body is the brain's frontal lobe, so kind of right up here. The intellect is engaged in understanding, but intellect alone does not produce spiritual understanding. If knowledge is acquiring facts, understanding is making sense of those facts and forming connections between them. Understanding ultimately goes beyond fleeting facts to settle on changeless truths. So that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about the power of understanding. So when I talk about our power of understanding as a building block for creating peace, it is that spiritual level of understanding where we understand the truth of things beyond whatever conflict or flare up might be showing up in our world right now. So we use our understanding to look beneath, to see beyond, and that is a building block for peace. All right, so the second building block for peace that I would like to suggest for creating peace is using our power of understanding to comprehend and realize our own divine nature. So this is the fundamental level of using our power of understanding. And this links up with Unity's first two principles. Principle one being there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life. And then principle number two, since there is only one presence and one power, then we are, you are, I am an expression of that one presence and one power. We, you, I cannot be separate from the benevolent energy of the universe, or there would be more than one. There's not, like, if you like to use the word God, we're not saying there's you and there's God. We're saying we are one. It's kind of an elegant leap of spiritual logic. If we are in this knowing of one presence and one power, then of course we're all a part of it. We're not separate from it. So for those of you who appreciate scripture and scriptural teachings, Jesus models this for us when he says, the Father and I are one. And so that we wouldn't be confused and think that he was some sort of exception, he made it clear numerous times that he wasn't saying it was just him, that it was us, and that we are one. So as we practice taking this to a level of spiritual comprehension, then we know that the wisdom of the universe expresses at the point of us. We practice taking this to a level of spiritual realization, and we know that the light of the universe expresses at the point of us. And we practice taking this to a level of spiritual insight, where we know that all that is, that which we call God, the Christ consciousness, is expressing at the point of us. And since the peace that passes all understanding is an aspect of that which we call God, it follows that peace is an inherent aspect of our own divine nature. So When we experience conflict in our human brains, in our material lives, we can practice aligning our thoughts, our words, our actions with that divine essence of peace. That is what we are. So we have our power of understanding. We use that to comprehend the nature of our being when we truly understand ourselves to be divine. And we seek to align our thoughts and our words and our actions out in our human lives with that knowing. So the next building block I would like to suggest, and you can probably hear it coming, folks, is that we take this knowing and see every person as the divine nature that they are. Every living being, every living aspect of the universe. When we truly understand all human beings to be divine, then we are aligning our thoughts, words, and actions with that knowing. Now, is it easy? I would say no, not in our human lives. It's not easy to do that. And first off would be because our human brains are wired to sort of be a little bit wary and suspicious, because our human brains are wired to kind of scan for things and let us know when we're not safe and all of those kinds of things. Our cultural programming does not support this kind of oneness state of mind, does it? Um, we have a challenging time when we are interacting with people from different cultures, different languages, different worldviews, and occasionally we are forced to deal with situations where another individual is an actual physical threat to our safety. So at no point are we suggesting that you should interject yourself into an unsafe situation. What we are suggesting is that from a safe physical human distance, that we work on seeing the divine nature underneath, seeing into insight into these other people. Othering is a very hot topic these days, but let's say all human beings, that we work on doing that. It's not saying we have to get into an unsafe situation, but it is saying that on the spiritual level, we're going to use this spiritual building block for peace. We are actively working to see the divine, even in those who are doing things that we find abhorrent, that we are spiritually working to see the light that they are, that maybe they have no realization of it anymore in their human lives, but we're working on seeing it. And this is a building block for peace. Building peace asks us, requires us to practice using these spiritual building blocks of understanding every day and over and in new and different ways all the time. Understanding not only people that we know and love, but people who are different than us. Understanding not only people who are like-minded and with whom we feel comfortable, but those with differing worldviews that make us feel unsettled or uncomfortable. The path to global peace begins with each and every one of us in our thoughts, our feelings, our words, and our actions. Now, there are two other aspects of the power of understanding I want to share with you this morning as we talk about this question, are you building peace? And one will sound very comforting and comfortable. It's compassion. All right, our capacity to recognize and have concern. So as I recognize my divine nature and have concern for the circumstances I experience in my human life, I'm able to express compassion for myself. As I recognize the divine nature in all people and have concern for circumstances they experience in their human lives, I am able to express compassion for others. This level of knowing, this level of seeing into, this is a function of our power of understanding, to know that there's more going on than what we see on the surface, and to seek to find the connections of spirit so that in prayer we can lift others up. And the path to peace in this world is through compassion, compassion for ourselves and compassion for others. And the last aspect of the power of understanding that I ask for you to consider as we look at this question, are you building peace, is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is related to plenty of other spiritual topics, and we could do certainly a whole message, probably a whole series of messages on that. And let's commit to doing that in the year to come. But today, I'm talking about the essence of forgiveness that is revealed by our power of understanding. When on a spiritual level of understanding, we know that nothing and no one is against us. This is an essential teaching from the Eye of the Storm, which is core teaching in unity. When we know that absolute truth, then we can use that understanding, that comprehension to lean into forgiveness. Because, of course, in your human life, in your human brain, if you are holding a grudge, if you are holding back on forgiving yourself for something or others, you are actively withholding the energy of peace. Lack of forgiveness over time builds in our own hearts. We know this to be the case, and it builds within cultures, doesn't it? And then it erupts in conflicts and things that, we recognize, there it is again. This core essence where we're not seeing each other as divine and not honoring each other. So this is where this power of understanding plays out. So where a lack of forgiveness is playing a part, withholding forgiveness, if we can lean into the understanding that nothing and no one is against me in spirit, in truth, then we can work towards peace. So for the benefit of yourself, for the world at large, I ask you to seek to release any grudges you have. You can use your power of release. You can use lots of your spiritual toolkit to do that. Get yourself some help so that you can let go of things you might be carrying around and holding on to, that when you're doing that, it essentially is contributing to the energy that's combative out there in the world. So if we want to be creating peace, building peace, we need to let go of that and be in forgiveness so that we can become an ambassador of peace in this world by using our power of understanding, become an agent for peace by seeing the divine nature in ourselves and in all living beings, becoming the living and breathing expression of peace in this world by embodying the activity of compassion and forgiveness. These are the spiritual building blocks for peace. So we're going to take a breath now and move into our time of meditation. I'm going to once again be reading from Divine Audacity from Linda Martella Whitsett's Meditation on Understanding. So I invite you to take a couple of deep breaths right here. And if you wish, you can allow your outer eyes to drift closed. And let's just listen for a few moments. I am the power of understanding, listening to my life and making meaningful connections between my experiences, thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. I comprehend my essential eternal nature as I pause in this moment of stillness. I sit in silence for a little while. I call forth from within my realization ability, at ease, knowing that flashes of awareness may come as I arise from the silence or as I move about my day. I am spiritual insight, seeing beneath the words and actions of others, their true spiritual nature and my own. Compassion is the fruit of my insight. Understanding oneness, I act in ways that foster unity. Divine understanding is my spiritual name and nature. Through my complementary powers of understanding and will, I am willing to understand. I am willing to suspend judgmentalness about others and myself, and to understand the divine intentions underneath each appearance. I am divine understanding. So, for this moment right now, I'd like for you to focus your energy right at the front of your forehead, which is the location of the power of understanding in the physical body. The color for understanding is gold. And what I'd like for you to do as we move into a time of stillness together is just see the waves of compassion, forgiveness, and understanding rolling forth from the divine seat of understanding in your forehead and through all the levels of cells in your body, out beyond the body, into your interactions with others, and ultimately into your energy, the energy that you hold for the world. So let's take that into the silence together right now. As we begin to bring our attention back to the current moment, I will finish with the words of Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett. By the power of understanding, I learn from my life. By the power of understanding, I learn from the one mind through which I realize eternal truths. I am divine understanding. So let's bring our attention back to the seat that we're in, back to the breath moving in and out of the body. And I have an affirmation for us to close with here today. And here's the affirmation: I create peace through understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. Say it with me there, wherever you are. I create peace through understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. Let's do it one more time. I create peace through understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. So it is, my friends. That's it for me, and I'm going to hand it back to Andrea.
Thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again for watching.